So I was thinking about this government shutdown thing. I thought, everybody else is really upset and concerned and everything, but let's look at this from a different angle. It's really kind of funny, and I was looking at it, kind of thinking about how this is kind of reminding me of the church. I mean, let's just look at the national parks part of it. How can you shut down land? How can you shut down a national park? Well, I mean, obviously, you got buildings in there and things like that, and people could vandalize them if they're not watched after by the staff. People could start fires, racket, things like that. But think about it this way. The Indians, when we came here, they were already here. And I think if people like Roger Williams and whatnot would have had their way, we could have melded in with the Indians, had a good life here instead of just taking things from them. And we could have adopted their philosophy that they had, that how can anybody own the land, and we wouldn't have problems with population and all the problems that progress has brought us. At this time, we'd probably just have a lot more, getting along with nature, getting by with what we have and being happy with that. And if that's the way that our world worked, well, guess what? They couldn't shut down the national parks. Why do they have a national park in the first place? They have a national park in the first place because those that are in power get to decide what's done and why and how and whatnot. And so the people that came here, they really are a lot weaker than the Indians because they can't live on their own without artificial means, different systems they have to have in place that all work intricately together. That's why they couldn't even come and survive over here when they first got here, hardly. We're just lucky we have a country. But anyway, they shut down the national park. And it's just kind of comical. And because, well, they don't own it in the first place. They build their flag on it, they build their buildings, and now they say they own it. Well, they don't own it. But they gotta shut it down because the way they run things cripples everything. We can't live off the land. We can't live without the government doing all the things they do. It's, subsidizing the farmers to grow the certain things, make sure we have what we have, all the money things. It's just so backwards and ridiculous now. All this debt, we owe the debt to ourselves. People that are very wealthy, giving the country money, and they want it back. And, the funny thing about it is that you can't just shift over to them being in charge of the government. I guess you could if they wanted to do it that way, they could. But the whole thing's upside down. The reason why it's upside down is because the principles that everything was founded on in the first place were corrupt. They were all about taking what was yours and what you can claim and survival of the fittest. And they were closer to the animal instincts back then before the world was conquered. And that's the way we're still doing things today. But let's look at the church. The church, same thing with that. Just about as ridiculous as shutting down National Park. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous because churches do what they have to do to stay open, to stay in business. What do they have to do? Well, most formalized churches have to maintain an establishment, a building, different thing like that, electricity, property taxes, costs of things that are going to deteriorate through time, services to keep it up, things like that. And so ultimately, they're serving money. Now, if you look at what Jesus said, he didn't say that the service of money was the root of all evil. He didn't say money was the root of all evil. He said that the love of money was the root of all evil. And what the love of money is, let's think about that. What is the love of money? The love of money really is, what's money? Don't think of the dollars and things like that. Think of it in terms of what money is. Money is the ability in this physical realm to have the power to purchase and own what it is that you'd like from the other servants that are around that might be less powerful and you are equally powerful, whatever. And so money is really the ability to gain the things that you would like to have in this physical realm, whatever they may be. Well, service to that is like basically saying service to the physical realm, So service to the physical realm, we all have to do that. Even Jesus, when he walked the earth, he had to serve the physical realm in order to first make a living, and even after that, when he was going around, he had to have the means to have a place to lay down, had to have a means, have a place to eat, ways to eat. He had to have the means to even pay taxes at one time. There was a question about that, and had to produce that. So service to the physical realm, or service to money, is not a bad thing. But the love of the service to the physical realm, the love of money, is the bad thing. And when we go there, and we make the church about that, which almost every church is, what we do is we have the love of money being the root of all evil. And the church we see bending and catering to those that would live that way. And what happens is, the message that was supposed to have been given, the pure message, gets distorted in the slightest little incremental ways throughout time, so that they can continue to process that system in order to make that system continue to work as it has. And it's in that processing, because of their first step of the loving of the service of money, that they become evil. Now, when I say the church is evil, I want you to remember, I can't look into that church, I can't judge that church, and I'm talking about the formalized churches. I'm not talking about the church. The church that Jesus started when he was on the cross. He said, Peter, you're the rock that I'm going to build my foundation of my church on. Most people couldn't even recognize that if it came up and bit them. I'm speaking to you. You may or may not know what the church is. If you do, please talk with me. Because I'm finding one of the most difficult things in this world to do is actually find another member of the church with which to speak and worship and just communicate and be communicated to. And please call me, email me, get in touch with me, because I want to be a church parishioner with you of the real church. But if you're not that, and you're thinking, this guy's out of his gourd, well, I know that people are going to think that, but that's because they're conditioned. They're conditioned, and they're conditioned by the ways that they've been brought up all through the ages, and way before you were even born, before your grandparents were even born, back to the beginning of time. But if you just look at this country, like I started out with, the national parks, we came up with the idea in this country that we were the strong, wealthy nations that discovered this, and God was on our side, and we could do whatever we wanted to because of that. Well, guess what? All we were really doing when we did that is saying that God is on the side of those who serve money. We taught ourselves and indoctrinated ourselves into believing that that's how things work. And so when we structured our world, we structured our church, we structured everything in that pattern. That's why we have the problems that we have in the church, in the world, in our government. And that's why even the people that say they're equipped to fix things because they're in the church and because they know what God supposedly wants, aren't qualified to fix anything. And if I said to you I was qualified to fix something, you wouldn't like what I said. It's so messed up right now, I would tell you probably couldn't be fixed in the traditional realm. So does that mean I'm just copying out and not doing anything? No, you could say that. But the truth of the matter is, living a successful life and avoiding death and having that be the ultimate goal is not fixing anything. What that's really doing is just making it so that you can have a better life, justify it because you give it to others, and still love and serve money and what that brings you. And so, if you see how asinine it is to close a national park, because it can't be closed, it's just land. You see how far we've come to where we can get those kind of ideas as our standard operating procedure. Then I've hopefully communicated to you in a way that is secular. And if you're a Christian, or think you are, or if you're not, and you wonder what's going on in that Christian church over there, you can see how backwards things are in that. But a lot of people just like to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, see, they don't know what they're doing. I can do whatever I want because they're screwed up. It's very comforting to somebody that just wants to abandon all hope, just do whatever they want. Very comforting. The truth of the matter is, though, all they're really doing it is for their love of the physical realm, which once again is very much like the love of money, because all they're thinking about is, how can I have and gain what I want in this physical realm that's right in front of me? How can I do that? So, you atheists, you people that are Christians in the formalized church that think it's all about the way they run it there, you should think about those things. Very few people do. And one of the reasons why there isn't a formalized church that could speak like this is because of several reasons. One, you're not going to be able to organize very many people in that church because they won't recognize it, because few will understand this message. And two, in this vast world that we live in, with those few, there are very few people that can come together, and the means of bringing them together costs money. So it's very difficult for those people to be congregated and established in a means that they can call themselves a church, the true church. You may pass by others that are in that church. You may congregate them with them temporarily. They may go on their way. You may come back to them. Chances are you may go your whole life. I've gone my whole life, and I can't judge anybody, but I am not sure if I've met a true Christ follower yet. Even in myself, it's so difficult to do this because every day I'm expected to serve in the physical realm and serve money, but at the same time not love it and not let it guide me. It's very hard to find somebody that will do that. Oh, you'll find people that don't even try, and they just say, oh, I'm going to be poor. That proves that I don't care about things. It's just a cop-out again. Once again, cop-out that gives them the ability to be lazy. Cop-out that gives them the ability not to answer the tough questions. But to find somebody that really tries and still finds these things that I'm talking about to be real, gripping issues that we should be discussing and grappling with in the real church today. These are the people I'd like to talk to. And if you disagree with me, that's fine too. But if you research into what I'm saying and you look at some of my other videos and get to know me, I'll talk with you more about this. And I don't think you're going to dismiss it that easily. And that's probably all I have to say for right now. This is the first video in a series, hopefully, that I'm going to be doing on the difficult things to say, because the world's not ready for it. Family and friends that I know aren't ready for it. And even I'm not totally ready for it. But gosh, life just doesn't have very much meaning without it. And let's remind you of something. I'm going to try to remember to do this in most of the videos. We don't know that God exists. We don't know that Jesus exists. We don't know that they don't. You'll find people making very definitive stances on almost all those things all the time in an argumentative situation, but we don't know those things exist. So what can we know? This might seem bold for you at first, and you might not get what this means, but as you continue to go along, you may get to see what this means. Even if God, Jesus, no other religion even existed, if you incorporated the purity of the message and lived it, it would still work. Sure, you might die and then you don't go to heaven, you don't have those kinds of things, but it would still work. Now to me, my way of thinking, I think a creator would want the best for their creation. So I attribute it then in turn to the creator, because only good things could come. And even if I died and there was nothing more, it would still be working even if there wasn't a God. So I go all the way around cyclically and I say, then therefore there probably is. In fact, I act as if there is. In fact, even if there wasn't, I still would want to act as if there is. I believe that is what takes us above the animals. That is what gives us hope. That's what gives us faith. You have faith at the very minimum that these things we're talking about would actually work with or without God. I believe that's still of the Church of Jesus Christ. But I believe it's so universal, you can take it way beyond that. So that's just the first the point that I have to make about the church today. And I hope you'll join me for a lot more. Talk to you later.